In this video, I'm gonna show you how I take a simple photograph that look like this and turn it into digital artworks that look more like this or that look like this. This is a multi-step process, and I had to do a few things to get the images ready before finally exporting them to Runway, which is the place where I turned it into the video you just watched. So in this video, I'm gonna show you exactly what I did and how I achieved this video. So the first part of this process is to import the image that I'm using for this project into Canva. And one of the reasons why I love to use Canva is because it has some really updated AI features that just make the work a lot much easier. So here I'm using the Magic Edit tool, and once I've selected that, I'm gonna select my brush to match the size of the objects that I intend on importing into this scene. So I intend on importing a spaceship right here. So I had to adjust my brush to make sure it doesn't look bigger or it's not smaller than the objects that I wish to add as a part of this project. So once that's done, I'm gonna go into the description box and just enter a few words. I had to change my words a few times just because I didn't get the exact result I intended for this selected area. So I had to change my words a few times and just go in there. And this is a big part of the prompt generating process, that you just need to make sure you're capturing every element, every detail, every shape, every size that you intend to add as a part of your project. If you are happy with the final prompt, you can go ahead and hit the generate button, and now we just wait. One of the reasons why I also love Canva for this kind of process is because it just simplifies the process for someone who is not tech savvy. If you're not someone who is familiar with different AI tools, Canva is just one of those tools that simplifies this process for you. So what I'm doing here is just trying to regenerate because I wasn't happy with some of the results that it generated previously. So all you have to do is just go to the bottom and generate again. But I think I'm happy with this result I have here for this spaceship. So I'm going to do exactly the same process for different areas of this image. So what I'm going to do is reduce my brush again to fit the size of the detail that I intend on adding here. So I'm going to go in there, add my prompt again, and generate it a few times. So I'm just going to leave it for a little bit up until we get the final result that we're happy with. Now that we're done with the spacecraft, what I'm trying to do here is just add some landmarks to the scene. So I'm trying to make the selection look like a building, so AI can tell that I'm trying to, add building to this scene, so it can generate something very similar to exactly what I'm trying to achieve here. So this editorial was actually shot in Palm Springs. That's why we had a lot of sky space. There was a lot of it was very futuristic. Just a very futuristic editorial, and this scene is just perfect for this kind of environment. So what I'm trying to do here is just add my prompt to the generated image to see what it's going to generate. I hope I'm able to get some options that I like. So these are actually pretty good, but I can see that my selection there wasn't complete. So I'm going to have to generate that again. But before I do that, I'm going to have to reselect that area to make sure it covers the entire scene so it doesn't look weird. So I'm just going to do a little brush stroke here just to cover the entire area. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to go back to the generate section and regenerate. So this way it can update the area we just added. So here are some of the scenes that we have so far, and these are pretty good because I think it fits into that environment properly. So I'm just going to select done there, and I'm going to do exactly the same to select some other areas just to make it look complete and rather empty. So I'm going to make another selection here. So I'm going to do something a little bit look organic, like something very roundish, something not too straight. Okay, so let's add some prompt to see if we can generate a dome, something with like something round, something futuristic, to see what we can get there, because I think this is gonna look well with the overall image. I think it fits well with the spaceship on the top right, so this will be interesting. So I'm just gonna make sure I cover all the specifics in the prompt section, because this area is very, very important. If you're someone that struggles with generating prompt, this is something you can always find in the marketplaces, because there are a lot of artists who sell prompt that you can use. So here we have some of the results here, and I really do like this. It was exactly what I was thinking when I mapped out the area. So I'm happy with this selection, and I'm gonna select done for this as well. So I'm gonna try not to put too much element into this image, just so it doesn't look too busy, but I think I'm happy with this. And this was one of the other ones that I generated as well. As you can see, some of the elements and details in that image is very different from this one, so it just brings a little more dynamic to your overall presentation. So what I'm going to do here is just export these two images, and then we're going to take it to the next workflow, which is going to be to animate it into a moving video. So the next step in this process is to import the images we just exported from Canva. So I'm going to select all three images and import them into Runway ML, which is the tool we're going to be using to generate this video. So I've uploaded the first image. Now we're going to have to include the prompt we want to use for this video. There are two ways to go about this. You can use your own prompt, you can generate your own prompt yourself, or if you have specific keywords or camera setting that you want AI to use, you can include them here, which is exactly what I'm doing here. First, I'm using the prompts that I generate to create this, but then I'm going to show you another step that you can use as well, which I really do recommend if you're someone who is not familiar with prompting, or you're not a camera person and you don't really know the right setting to instruct AI to use for your video, because this is very important. So I'm going to try my best to write out a prompt here. There are a lot of guides you can find online that would show you how to write the right prompt for Runway to be able to generate your video, because like I mentioned, the composition, the camera movements, instructions that you give AI here is very important, and it will determine how well the final result is going to turn out. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to set my video at 5 seconds, because I'm testing this out, so I don't really want to waste all of my credits. So once I'm done with the keywords here, I'm going to go ahead and select 5 seconds and then generate my video. All right, so it looks like our video is ready. So I'm gonna click preview. So I'm not really happy with the overall result here. The model movement seems static, and it seems like there's some elements that have been added to the video. Like the sunglasses is not in the original reference, so I'm not sure why it added that. So we're gonna have to do this a couple of more times, but the next step we're gonna be using is gonna be a little bit different. So we will be using ChatGPT to get recommendation on the best way to bring this photograph to life, because what ChatGPT is going to do is analyze the overall image, the subjects, the objects, the background, and this way ChatGPT is going to give you the best recommendation, the best setting, the best composition, the best camera movement to be able to bring that photo to life. And this is such a next level game changer, whatever you want to call it, because not everyone is very familiar with writing prompts. And I think for a small business owner or an entrepreneur who is doing everything by themselves, you might not necessarily have the right camera experience to be able to give ChatGPT or Runway the right prompts that you need. So being able to consult with ChatGPT to be able to help you analyze this image and write you the exact prompts, just like a pro photographer or videographer would write, is such a game changer that would help you bring your project to life. So what I'm going to do here is just try to fine tune my words a little bit. Again, this is an example just to demonstrate the process, not exactly the content of the video. So now that I'm happy with the overall prompt, I pressed enter and try to see what ChatGPT is going to generate. And as you can see here, we already have all sorts of recommendations in terms of the opening shot, the wide angle frame, the focus on the subject, and the dynamic flying objects that are in the photos. I think this is such a way to get different types of prompt, and then you can combine all of this prompt to be able to generate your video. So what I'm going to do here is replace one of the prompts that ChatGPT wrote with the one I originally wrote and try to see what that result is going to look like. Again, the prompts that I wrote is just as an example to show you how it can be different when you ask ChatGPT to write you the exact prompt. So we have the second one generated now. Let's try to play the preview and see what it looks like. As you can see, it looks a lot much better than the first one that I wrote myself. ChatGPT is able to analyze this image and just try to picture what the camera is going to look like if it's going from the bottom to the top for you to see the entire landscape of the scenery. And I think this is brilliant. This is really, I mean, just from a single photo, and you're able to generate something like this by using a combination of Canva and Runway and ChatGPT is mind blowing. So what I'm doing here is I'm gonna try to save the first image, and I copied one of the other prompts, the second one that was generated by ChatGPT, and I'm gonna replace that here as well. As you can see, this is a different shot that was generated, and it still shows off the model, shows off the environment, but has a different composition that that just makes the video look very different from the original. All right, so I'm just doing a little more tests with some of the other recommendations that GPT wrote, because this way you can test out different scenes, different angles. You can save all of the images, and in post-production, you can decide on which angle, which image you want to combine for your final video. It's always better to have more scenes than not to have enough. Like, as you can tell, this is also a very unique scene that has been recommended by ChatGPT to, bring this photo to life. So I think it's always better to have more motion, more composition than not having enough. So I'm going to copy one of the fifth one. I believe that's the fifth instruction, just for me to see what that is going to look like. But before we do that, I want to update the image because I generated two reference images and we've used one so far. So let's try to use the other reference image to see what that is going to look like. So I'm going to use one of the prompts and again change it to 5 seconds because I don't want it to be more than 5 seconds. I'd rather have different scenes generated in different 5 seconds than try to generate one full 10 seconds because the quality is not always the same. I promise you. I've tried it a few times. It doesn't just work. I think 5 seconds is better, but I'd rather have that into separate scenes and then combine it later. So let's see what this result is going to look like with the new reference image. I think that's pretty interesting. I do like the fact that the model decided to stretch out her hands to reach the helicopter that is flying. So I think that's pretty interesting that you can have different scenes like this recommended to you by ChatGPT for you to be able to maximize every scene that you have in your photo. I think it's a lot much better than writing your own prompts, to be honest. Except, of course, you have something specific that you want to add. But on a general note, if you're trying to get more inspiration or create different dynamic ranges, I always suggest you consult with ChatGPT to be able to get the best recommendation. And here we have another close-in shot. I believe this is the fifth one. And as you can see, the quality is so good. And I requested the model be static here because I really wanted to capture what she's wearing and like focus on the environment. And I think it did a really good job. So this is one of the tools and tips that I've been using to generate video stories. As a matter of fact, I think it's just a lot more effective than, especially if you have existing photos that you're just trying to bring to life in form of video. I think this does a great job. So what I'm going to do now is just save all of these files and then export it to Capcut, where I'm going to be doing the final edits. So there are a lot of tools out there that you can use for this final process, but I just happen to use Capcut because it's a place where I organize all my audio files. I can search the library of sound effects that I want to use in my overall video. It just makes the work a lot easier for me. So this is a place where I also just like arrange all the files and yeah, do the final production work that needs to be done in order to get the video ready. And if you'd be interested in learning more about my CapCut editing process, leave that in the comments below so I can do a separate video on that. But this is just how I created this video, and I thought it was going to be useful for me to share some of the tips that I use to create this video, because not everything AI has to deal with complicated codes, because that's something a lot of people feel when they hear anything AI related. It's not so complex. There are a lot of simplified tools out there that you can use to achieve this work. Like Canva, for example, has a ton of AI tools. So I hope you found this video useful. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.